Let's make a PicoPI. First, peel the paper from both sides of the laser cut base. Now we'll mount the PCB holder to the base with the stainless steel bolts and nylock nuts. You'll need some needle nose pliers and a screwdriver. Put the bolts in the PCB holder. Line it up through the center slot of the base. Pull it forward, but make sure the notch is aligned at the front right corner. And do the nuts up nice and tight. Let's remove support material from the motor driver housings with some pliers. Now carefully use a Stanley knife to trim away excess support from the edge. Let's make the motor assemblies. First we need to cut the orange and brown wire in half with side cutters. And then use some wire strippers to expose 5mm of wire from the ends. Twist the wires together tightly. Now let's join the wires onto the motor. Insert the wire, bend it, and twist it together. Now let's solder the wires onto the motors. And place the motors in the motor housings. The wire end goes through the narrow gap, and then press fit the motors so they sit flush with the housings. Let's put the wheels and tyres together with the motor assemblies. Make sure the curve is inside and the flat is outside. Align the D-shaft of the motor with the D-shaped hole in the wheel. Try to keep them square to each other and press down firmly on the work surface. Now let's mount the motors on the base. We'll need 4 stainless steel bolts and nylock nuts. Place them in the center of the slots. Then tighten the nuts, making sure the housings are square. Position the wheel housings as far forward as possible. And that the wheels don't rub. Let's mount the Pico Mini driver to the PCB holder. It works best in this orientation. Use a screwdriver and the 2 screws provided. Then plug in the motors like so. Now it's time to mount the sensors. First grab the reflection sensors. We're going to mount these with the 4 nylon rivets sticking out the front of the PicoPI. With the tactile switch modules, we need to bend the pins slightly upward. Put the switch close to the wheel and press down on the nylon rivets. With the buzzer module, we need to cut off this corner with some side cutters so it can sit closer to the right side of the motor housing. Separate the nylon rivets to get them in place. Then push them down to lock them in. With the potentiometer, place the rivets in first, then position it next to the left side wheel. If the tyre jams, you might need to move the housing further forward. Let's put on the third wheel. Place the ball bearing in the third wheel socket. Check it doesn't fall out. Position the stainless steel bolts 2 holes from the centre rear position of the base. Align the third wheel assembly and push the bolts through. Now screw the nylock nuts in place with a screwdriver and tighten them down using a pair of needle nose pliers. Position the microswitch sensor in close to the third wheel assembly with the PCB showing and the switches pointing towards the centre. Use 1 stainless steel bolt first and carefully screw it down tight. Then put in the second stainless steel bolt. There are some coloured dots in the pack, but we need to colour 2 of them black. Now we have 6 pairs of colours to stick on 6 cables. Tightly twist the ends of the first cable and wrap a red dot around it. Make sure you try to cover the black wire. Use some super glue to help stick the edges of the dot to the cable. Do the other end of the cable with a red dot too. That's 1 done. Now make a yellow dot cable. Twist the end, yellow sticker, cover the black wire. Super glue. Twist the end, yellow sticker, cover the black wire. Super glue. Next, twist the end, cover the black wire. Super glue. Cover the black wire. Super glue. Next, twist the end, cover the black wire. Super glue. Cover the black wire. Super glue. Next, twist the end, cover the black wire. Super glue. Cover the black wire. Superglue. Next. Twist the end. Cover the black wire. Superglue. Cover the black wire. Superglue. Plug in the red cable. Yellow wire goes to the square mark on the PCB. The other end connects to the pins on the driver board. Yellow wire goes next to the microchip on the end pin header. Kink the wire between the motor housings. Next, grab a yellow cable. Plug it on the switch. Yellow wire goes to the square mark on the PCB. The other end connects to the pins on the driver board. Yellow wire goes next to the microchip. Next, grab the black cable. Plug it on the other switch. Yellow wire goes to the square mark on the PCB. Kink the cable between the motor housings. The other end connects to the pins on the driver board. Yellow wire goes next to the microchip. Red, yellow, black. Next, grab the white cable. Connect one end of the pins on the driver board. Plug the other end on the potentiometer. Yellow wire goes to the square mark. Kink the cables between the motor housings. Next, grab the blue cable. Feed it underneath the other cables and connect one end to the pins on the driver board. Do the same for the green cable. Red, yellow, black, white, blue, green. Feed the blue and green cable ends through the center slot in the base. These two cables will be used for either the reflection sensors or the micro switches. Yellow wire goes to the J2 mark. If you need to, reapply some extra superglue. For the PicoPI Pro, feed the last cable under all the rest. This is for the LCD display. Use tweezers if you need to. Don't forget to plug other cables back in after gluing. And plug the LCD cable in too. Don't plug anything on the 4-pin header. Squash all the cables down between the motor housings. Let's put the Velcro on the battery box. Cut the long piece of Velcro into 2 thin strips. Add superglue to the fabric piece. Stick it on a long edge of the battery box lid. Now glue and stick the other fabric piece. Test fit the battery box with the switch at the back. Now add glue to the Velcro hook pieces. Squash the cable down lower than the motor housings and stick the battery box in place. Use a screwdriver or tweezers to help stick the Velcro down flat. Now we'll put Velcro on the battery box for the LCD like this. Cut the short piece of Velcro hook into 2 thin strips, but not the Velcro fabric. Add glue to the Velcro fabric and stick it on the LCD. Test fit the Velcro hook pieces to position the LCD. Pins are on the right. It should sit just behind the cables and to the right of the battery box so that it's in line with the driver board. Add glue to the Velcro hook pieces. The lower half sticks to the battery box base, and the upper half sticks to the battery box lid. Make sure they don't stick the battery box lid and base together. Stick the edges down carefully and add glue if needed. Twist the battery box cable. Feed it under the Velcro. Undo the 2 end screws of the terminal block. Push the wires in with red on the outer edge and black in the middle, and tighten the terminal block screws onto the wires. Place the battery box. Bend the pins of the LCD to 45 degrees. Get the LCD cable out from under the battery box. Plug in the LCD cable. Yellow wire goes to the square mark. Good job, you're done. Next step, PicoPI coding. Have fun.